John 1:1, and the Word was God. Was the Word the truth, half the truth, and nothing but a lie? In a courtroom, when someone is sworn in, they promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is because it is recognized that only telling part of the truth or mixing truth and lies is a form of deception. There is even a word for it, paltering, which in contemporary parlance means using truthful facts to deceive. In the case of this last-ditch attempt by Trinitarianism to represent John 1:1 as saying that Jesus is God, it first presents a truth, then adds a half-truth, and finally arrives at a conclusion which is in essence a lie. The Trinitarian argument. The Trinitarian argument that was here indicates that Jesus existed before creation begins with the truth that in John 1:1a, the Greek word translated was, N, is the imperfect tense of the verb to be, indicating an ongoing state of existence. Quote, a verb in the imperfect tense expresses the continuing nature of an action or event which took place in the past. Modern Greek grammar 12.3.3, the imperfect tense. Imperfect versus aorist. The imperfect tense indicates a form of ongoing action occurring in the past, as opposed to the aorist tense, which indicates a completed action occurring in the past. Think of it like this. He ran is aorist because the action was completed. He ran and then stopped running. He was running is imperfect because the action, which had begun in the past, had not stopped at the time referred to. John 1:1a only means to tell us that the Word was in an ongoing state of existence when the creation of the material universe began, as opposed to having been in a completed state of existence at that time, which would have meant that its existence had ended. Now watch closely as the magician again slips the pea under a different shell. Most people, being unfamiliar with the idea of an indefinite tense, are ill-equipped to question the next claim of Trinitarianism, which is that the imperfect N indicates that the existence of the Word was eternal and without beginning. Quote, was, existing before time began, i.e., from all eternity. Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges. Quote, was before time, eternal. The Expositor's Greek Testament, edited by W.R. Nicole. Quote, when it is said that the Logos, quote, was in the beginning, his eternal position in the Godhead is indicated. Vincent's Word Studies. But in the Greek, the imperfect form of a verb can have just the opposite meaning. Quote, the force of the imperfect may denote the beginning of an action or an action which is upon the point of occurring. It is not identical with the continuous past by quite a wide margin. A manual grammar of the Greek New Testament, H.E. Dana, Ph.D., J.R. Mente, Ph.D., D.D. Quote, the imperfect may denote the beginning of an action or of a series of actions. A Greek Grammar for Colleges, Smith, S-M-Y-T-H. Quote, The imperfect is often used to stress the beginning of an action, the difference being that the imperfect stresses beginning but implies that the action continues, while the aorist stresses beginning but does not imply that the action continues. Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics, Daniel B. Wallace, 1996, page 544. The classic bait and switch. The following is an example of a Trinitarian bait and switch in which a truth is used to get you to drop your guard and accept the lie which follows it. Dr. James White, at the time of this writing, is a prominent and highly intelligent Trinity apologist. He says this regarding John's usage of was. Quote, the continuous action in the past of the imperfect tense of the verb in indicates to us that whenever the beginning was, the word was already in existence. In other words, the word is eternal, timeless, without a beginning. Germans, JWs, and John 1:1. James White, Alpha and Omega Ministries. Dr. White first presents a statement which has the ring of truth. It is certainly possible that was here denotes the existence of the pre-incarnate Son prior to the beginning spoken of by John, widely held to be the beginning of the creation of the material universe. But remember that other created spirit beings, angels, were also in existence prior to that beginning. White follows this ostensibly true statement with a false one, for the existence of the Word prior to the beginning of the creation of the material universe in no way suggests that the Word itself was eternal, timeless, or without a beginning, any more than the prior existence of angels suggests that they were eternal, timeless, or without beginning. The imperfect tense here simply denotes that the Word was already in existence at the time that the creation of the material universe began. Tertullian, circa 200 AD. I find it difficult to imagine that a scholar of Dr. White's caliber is not aware of the words of one of the most respected early champions of the Trinity doctrine, Tertullian. Regarding N, as found in Genesis 1:1 and 2 in the Septuagint, a Greek translation of the Old Testament, Tertullian states, quote, was N may be said of a thing which has been created, which was born, which once was not, against Hermogenes, chapter 27. An exception to the rule. Remarkably, the imperfect verb tense need not indicate continual action in the past at all. Quote, the idea of continual action in the past does not apply when the verb to be is in the imperfect tense. Greek verb tenses, intermediate discussion, newtestamentgreek.org. Nor do we need a Greek grammarian to tell us this. We have only to consider John's usage of the imperfect was in elsewhere in his Gospel. The following citations are taken from the Greek Interlinear Bible, a word-for-word translation of the Greek texts upon which the authorized King James Version of the New Testament is based. Quote, it was in about the 10th hour, John 1:39. Not the continual passage of time, but only 60 minutes. Quote, after this, there was in a feast, John 5:1, occurring during a limited period of time, not a continual span of it. Quote, on the same day was in the Sabbath. The Sabbath does not exist continually, but only for a day. Other examples include John 1:10, 2:23, 3:26, 4:6, 6:4, 7:42, 9:8, 10:22, 12:6, 18:1, 19:14, etc. Clearly, in the case of the verb to be, there is an exception to the rule that the imperfect tense indicates continual existence. Accordingly, there is nothing in John 1:1a which compels the understanding that the Word abode in a state of continual, much less eternal, existence when God began to create the material universe. Hence, there is nothing in the phrase, "in the beginning was the Word," which proves Jesus to be God.